Hey everybody, this is my 40-gallon waterfall tank, and today we are going to get in here and do some work on it. I don't know what I want to do yet, but I just feel like it's time to get in here and tinker around with the waterfall today. I'm not working. It's supposed to be raining a little bit this afternoon, and so I'm going to spend some time here in the fish room today. So the first thing we're going to do is a no-brainer. It's just get in there and do a big water change. I'll check the nitrates once again just for sort of the scorecard purposes, just so we can get an idea of what's going on in the tank. I really do intend to sit down. I know I've been talking about this forever, but I really do intend to sit down and have a nice, good, long talk about nitrates and their effect on our fish and in our aquarium and even in our own health and our own diets, because we consume nitrates all the time, lots of them, and they're not bad for us just like they're not bad for our fish. But we will have a big discussion of that at some point in the near future, hopefully. In the meantime, checking on the nitrates just helps me kind of keep an idea of what's going on in the tank. In the bigger picture, I always kind of use the nitrates as a proxy. When the nitrates are getting up there, so is everything else, whether it's the hormones or the bacterial loads or phosphates or whatever. The water spends time being demineralized, and the redox value decreases over time, the pH shifts over time. So just keeping an eye on those nitrates is a good way for me to gauge sort of a general idea of what's going on in the tank, and that's what we're going to do today. I suspect with all of the growth and everything that I've got going on in this plant, we're probably not going to see much in the way of nitrates, but we're going to check anyway. I will also be removing a lot of tannin out of the water. You can see how tea-stained that looks, or perhaps you can't, I don't know, but you'll definitely get to see it once we get the contrast between what that looks like and what it looks like after I'm done with the water change. The other thing that really needs to be done with this water change is, if you look in there, you can see this dark material here, and you can see how it's sort of dark in the back. That really is just mulm and crud and stuff that collects in this tank. I do have a filter on the side that very clearly needs to be addressed while we're in here working on this today, but that doesn't pick up a lot of the suspended mulm, and it doesn't give me a lot of circulation within the tank, and that circulation helps keep that mulm lifted off the bottom, which allows the filter to pick it up. So if you don't have that water swirling around to keep that stuff suspended, it winds up just getting caught in the nooks and crannies, and this tank has no shortages of nooks or crannies. So I have to get in there when I do my water changes and use the gravel vac siphon thingy and just pull a bunch of that crud out of there, and it's no big deal. It's just part of doing maintenance on this particular tank. Every tank is its own tank and needs its own type of treatment when you get in there, and that's just what we have to do when we get in there with this tank. So I'll be doing that. I'll be changing the filter. I'll change that hang on the back filter. And I don't know what I want to do with the rest of the waterfall. I'm definitely not going to be getting up there today and messing around with this whole top section where I've got the, I'm calling that a temporary patch with that garbage bag on there, but you know, like I said, that's not something I'm going to worry about today. At some point, I may get up there and worry about that. But today, I'm thinking more in terms of plants. I do like my lush green daylily growing up and out of there like that, but that's done. That daylily's done and flowered, and we're not going to see any more flowers. At best, we're going to see a continuation of this. And as the days go by, we're going to see more and more of that, and I'm going to have to get in there and start trimming all that out, and this will be dying back. We're not going to get any more flowers off of this. So I don't know what I want to do as far as that. Maybe remove it. Probably not. Maybe add to it. I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. I'm thinking about maybe going out in the yard, looking around to find some stuff that I can put in this area, even if it just stays green for a few weeks and then fades away or whatever. I don't care. It'll just be something in there to change up the way that looks. It'll sort of cover up some of that cyanobacteria and that, you know, rubbery lookingness and dead stuff back there. That looks very natural, but, you know, mud puddles and gross, you know, swampy looking holes on the side of the road are all natural too. That doesn't mean it's pretty, but it does look natural. You got to give it that. So probably going to get in there and try to dress that up a little bit. I had this one plant come up. I don't even know what that is. I don't know whether that came up from a seed or I don't even know what it is, but it doesn't look good. It doesn't look like it's going to survive whatever it was, so I'm not going to be too worried about that. don't know if I'm going to remove any of my Rex begonias. This one here goes all the way down, and it's just in this little pot here. I've got it staked up, but this one's just begging to be broken and bent over. They're starting to grow too far in. They're blocking the light. The other begonia over here is growing too hard this way, and again, it's going to wind up being one of these. I got several outside that now grow over and down because they all started in here, and with that centralized light, every one of them always grows this way instead of growing straight up, and I wind up getting these weird begonias that hang over the side of their pot. So I'm starting to accumulate those outside at this point. I don't know, maybe I could take my caladium here. This is brand new, still in the planter that we got it from the nursery, and I can really divide that up. It's got a ton of them in there. That's why I bought this one, actually. We're going to put some out in the yard and then do some in here. So I can maybe divide some of that up and even put one or two little pieces back in there maybe and see what happens. I don't know. But let me set this down and we will get you set up for what we're going to call your before, and there's your after. I will say that I've got the light turned on right now that I did not in the beginning part, so obviously it's going to be a little bit brighter in there. I do have that floodlight right there turned on, but I just wanted it to look as pretty and dramatic as possible for the second half of this video. Now, I'm in the middle of working on up here, and I've kind of stopped because I don't know what I want to do just yet. The tank is done. I've got the filters changed. I actually need to replace the filter in the pump. I forgot to do that as of yet. I got distracted by thinking about plants. I moved the caladium off of the top of the filter, and I've turned my begonia away from the light a little bit. That will help sort of block that empty spot where the filter is now visible. And over time, these leaves will sort of turn back around towards the light. But in the meantime, I thought it would be cool to show everybody what these leaves look like from the underside. The top is neat, but the underside is that really, really dark red color. Really, really pretty begonia. I really like these a lot. So I also moved the big begonia off of the corner. It was sitting down here and actually took up all that space. So you can see how much begonia that is. That's ridiculous, and it's got one little tomato spike holding it all up. So this is on its way outside. I want to put that out on the porch just to enjoy it for the rest of the summer. As the weather gets colder, we'll be bringing it back in here, no doubt, or up in the kitchen or somewhere. It'll get overwintered in the house. All that mess is just the trimmings from my daylily. I found out that my dead nettle here was growing better than I thought. It had all grown down into here and was starting to root in the water. And in fact, this stem right here is actually a little bit of that dead nettle. And this is all water sprite that was growing back in there that I never really even realized was in there. When the water sprite grows up and out of the water, it gets all sort of lacy like that and looks more like pine needles than it does what you would typically think about as being water sprite. So that got all discombobulated and knocked over when I was in there yanking all that dead stuff out. So that has been sort of disturbed, but that will recover and root back in and start growing. I can even prop that up with some sticks or a rock or something and get it standing upright again. No big deal there. This area is where we're running into some question. I thought about taking you guys out in the yard and having a stroll around and maybe looking to see if we couldn't find something interesting out in the yard to put in there. But then I decided what I would much rather do is go out the reservoir in my kayak and paddle around looking for something that would go in there. My yard, believe it or not, is not really the same as sort of a wet, swampy, boggy type area. I don't have a lot of steady flowing water sources out in my yard anywhere, but the reservoir certainly does, and it's got a lot of weird little grasses and various plants that might otherwise be considered weeds, but I don't care. I'm not going for a horticultural award here. I'm just trying to put something that's green and growing in there. As long as it's not poison ivy or it's going to send, you know, some kind of mold spores or seed pods through my house, then I'm not too concerned about what kind of plant it is. I just want something that's going to be visually appealing, and that's my goal right there. So getting this opened up a little bit allows you to actually see that I've got more going on back here than might originally meet the eye. I've got all these rocks and everything. That, of course, is holding up the big mass of tubers for my daylily. I don't know if daylilies are considered tubers or bulbs. I would call them tubers if I had to guess. And then, of course, like I said, all this water sprite was kind of planted in there. When I yanked a bunch of that dead stuff out, it kind of uprooted it, so we'll get that turned back over. My Ludwigia down here, as much as I like it growing out and over the front of the tank, once we get the water level back up where it belongs, we get the flowing effect from that filter, and of course it shoves all the Ludwigia back in the corner like that, and we don't get any of the nice looking views. So I think that's all we're going to do today, and then maybe we'll shoot some more video when we'll go out the reservoir and we'll have a look around again, maybe find some grasses or some other types of plants. I did come home the other day and I had a weed wrapped around the shaft of my motor on my other kayak, not the one we're going to take out today, but my big kayak with the motor on it. And it was still green enough that I threw it in that aquarium I've got sitting on my back porch, the one that used to be in my living room and leaked. And now that's just sitting out on my back porch, and it still has some water in it. So just on a whim, I threw that little weed in that plant, or in that tank, and it's actually growing pretty well. It's greened back up, and it looks pretty good. I don't know what it is. I've tried growing it in my tanks in here before, and I've never had much luck with it. It looks like cobamba. I don't know if it is. I don't know if it's a local species of it. I don't know if cobamba is something that's native to North America, and that really is what it is. But it looks just like it. And it's a really lacy, spindly, kind of feathery looking plant. It's really pretty, and there are just scads of it out at the reservoir. So one of these days maybe I'll try to collect up some of that, and maybe some of the aquatic plants, and maybe see if I can't bring some local aquatic plants into the native tank, or my New World tank I should say. Maybe try to put some of them in here or something, I don't know. But there you go, everybody. That's a look at what my waterfall tank looks like as of now. Again, that plant on the right will readjust itself and sort of turn around, reorient towards that light. And once we get in there and start making some rearrangements of some different plants and stuff, you never know, I might have to move that around completely anyway. But as of now, that's a look at my waterfall. So make sure you subscribe. You don't want to miss the trip out to the reservoir. Whether I'll get that on video or not, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But whatever's coming up, you don't want to miss it. I like to think it's all good stuff. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget, this one is my waterfall tank, and I will see you real soon on the next one.